Coordinates. Coordinates are a way of identifying where something is. On a Cartesian plane, like this, on a map, in a game, anywhere. The way that coordinates work is if I want to say where this point is, this point A, it has an x coordinate and a y coordinate. It has two numbers. And here, for the first question, we're asked to state the x coordinate. What is the x coordinate of this point here? Well, to make it easier to answer that question, let's label which is the x-axis and the y-axis. An axis is one of these straight lines here. So this horizontal axis is called x, and this vertical one is called y, that goes up and down. So now when it says state the x coordinate of A, it says if we look at a point A and we look at just this number line called x, this axis called x, what point is it on that number line? And on that number line, you can see it matches number 1 on that number line. So point A, the x coordinate is 1. We can do the same thing to get a y coordinate of a point. If I've got point B here, for example, and I want to find the y coordinate of B, then I look at this point B and I focus just on the y-axis, just on the y number line. So there's the y number line. I ignore the x number line for now. And now looking at point B, the y coordinate is 3. Cool. So that's how I can get an x coordinate or a y coordinate for a point. That's not so useful on its own, but where it is very useful is to exactly pinpoint where these points are. For example, I can state the coordinates of point A. When we write the coordinates, we write the letter that we're talking about, and then a bracket, and over here is going to be the x coordinate, and here is going to be the y coordinate, separated by a comma, and then a closing bracket at the end. To make it easier to remember which is x and which is y, there are a few ways. What I'd recommend is put a little x and a y above the coordinates, just to remind you. How do I know that x comes before y? Well, it's like the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, blah, 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 W, X, Y, Z. Next time, won't you sing with me? So we write that, x comes before y in the alphabet. So x, then y. And let's find the x coordinate of this point A. Again, if I want to find the x coordinate, I focus just on this x-axis here. And point A on the x-axis, it's number 1. So the x is number 1. Now let's look at the y-axis, this one here. So if I look at the y-axis and point A on the y-axis is in line with the number 2. So the y-coordinate for point A is 2. Another way of thinking of it is if point A is 1, 2, first you run and then you jump. The x is how far left or right. So I'm going to go right 1, and then I'm going to jump up 1, 2. So I run across and then I jump up. Run across 1 and then jump up 2. That's another way to think of it. Okay, let's do the same for point B. So again, point B, bracket, comma, bracket. Let's find the x coordinate of point B. The x coordinate, I just focus on where it lines up on the x-axis, on that x number line, and it lines up with number 4. And then I do the same for the y-axis. So focusing on this number line here, where does B match up on this number line? If we go directly horizontally across, number 3. So the y-coordinate is number 3. We can do the same for point C as well. Point C on the x-axis lines up -3. You might notice by now that the x-coordinate is how far left or right I have to go. And if I'm going left, if I'm going this way, I'm getting into the negatives on my number line. So the x-coordinate is -3. And the y-coordinate, well, the y-coordinate is where it matches up on this y-axis. The y-coordinate is 1. And finally, I can do point D. Point D is this one here. Bit tricky. It's on one of the axes. So point D, the x-coordinate, Again, just focus on this x-axis here, the x-coordinate. Just focusing on this x-axis, the x-coordinate is -4. That's how far left or right I have to go. I have to go left 4 units, so that's why it's -4. Now the y-axis is a bit trickier here. Let's focus just on the y-axis, and you can see D lines up with the 0 on the y-axis. So the y-coordinate is 0. Another way of thinking of that is if y is positive, I have to go up to get to my point. And if y is negative, I have to go down to get to my point. Y is 0, so I don't have to go up or down. I have a final question here. Which point is on the x-axis? To answer that, let's draw, this is the x-axis. Whee! Whoa, that's a terrible line. Hang on, I'm going to draw a better line. You deserve a better line than that, I think. Let's draw a better line than that. Maybe I'll get my highlighter out. Oh, there we go. Ooh, so this is the x-axis. Really hard drawing a straight line, just freehand. If I was on paper, I would use a ruler. Okay, so there's my x-axis, right? And it says which point is on the x-axis. So I've highlighted my x-axis. Which point is on my x-axis? D. D is on my x-axis. So that's an introduction to coordinates. Don't worry, I've got plenty more videos to come. It's a really interesting area because it's just so useful. You know, you can use it to point out points on a map. Video games use them to identify the positions of all the players and everything. So if you want to make video games, you need it. Lots of different stuff. Navigation, pilots, all sorts. Anyway, I will see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.